All right. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to the webinar, and thank you so much for joining us. My name's Sam Alcoby. I'm the head of sales at PracticePanther. I'm so excited to be joined by Kelsey Johnson from Smith.ai. We're seeing a lot of familiar names joining us right now, some new ones that we're both really excited to meet, and we're just so glad that you all could make it. So at the bottom of your screen, please feel free to leave questions for us in the Q&A box. We're going to save some time at the end to answer those. And keep in mind, if we can't get to your specific question, we will follow up with you after the webinar to make sure we address those, all right? So let's go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Sam. I've really had the honor of getting to know so many of our incredible customers over the year. I was one of the original employees at Practice Panther, so I've been able to see, what an amazing job our clients have helped us do in becoming such an incredible platform. So it's really because of customers like you that we've been able to build Practice Panther into such an intuitive platform. So through your feedback, we've even had the privilege of forming relationships with partners like Smith.ai to really give you what you need to manage your firm day to day. So we hope through this session, you're going to get a good understanding of the robust technology we've brought together, really to empower your law firms with your colleagues. So whether you're a client of Practice Panther or Smith.ai, or maybe you're just wanting to learn more about the technology, I really think this webinar is going to show you how you can revolutionize your practice with, like I said, tools like Smith.ai and Practice Panther. So that's why I'm really excited to introduce Kelsey to everyone. She's the product marketing manager at Smith.ai. Kelsey is a legal tech expert who focuses on helping small and medium-sized businesses with their practices through tech-enabled operations, integrated systems, digital marketing, and communications, and I'm sure a whole lot more. So Kelsey, I'm so excited and welcome and can't wait to get this going.
Hi, Sam. Thanks so much for having me on, and I'm really excited today too.
Awesome. Yeah, of course. So real quick, a little bit of a background on Practice Panthers. For years, we've been able to really enable law firms to automate a lot of what they do for their practice. This is just resulting in them getting a lot more done in less time, right? So we're an all-in-one, seamless and intuitive solution. We've helped tens of thousands of legal professionals really manage their complex and fast-moving cases without delays. So this could be everything from managing your contacts to cases, from potential clients to current clients, being able to even send out invoices, which you can get paid on both securely and quickly. Also task management and a lot of automation features, which we'll cover a little bit as we go through this webinar. And then on the Smith.ai side, Kelsey will tell us a little bit about the history and really why it's so important to utilize such a software and service. So Kelsey, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, thanks again. Smith.ai is a virtual receptionist and chat service for businesses. And we focus largely on solo and small law firms, almost entirely, actually. Our receptionists are experts in answering calls for lawyers, and we can even help you set up your call workflow and intake systems when you get started with us. In addition to answering calls, we also offer live chat and even answering for your business texts and Facebook messages. When we have a caller on the phone, we can transfer them and take messages, but we can also do so much more work for your business on that first call, which I will go over today. But just to give you a little hint into what we're doing, we can qualify and intake new leads, book and reschedule appointments, take payments, and more. So the great thing about Smith.ai and the thing that sort of sets us apart is that we've built this custom technology that enables our receptionists, who are virtual but real people, so that they have everything they need to really represent your firm well, be able to answer questions about your firm, can 100% focus on the caller and converting those leads without needing to sort of fumble around trying to figure out the information that they need. But our technology does other really cool things as well, like we integrate with your Practice Panther software to log new calls. And so I'm going to go over all of that and a lot of the options on how you can make this work the best for your firm in terms of your process with that integration. So today I'm going to identify, Sam and I are going to identify the best way to communicate with your clients and leads to grow your business. So there's all this software, there's all these platforms, there's these services that you can bring on, but what it really comes down to is that you're trying to grow your business, right? You're trying to make the intake process better, you're trying to take work off of your plate, but you really want to grow your business. And so we're going to go through a lot of these processes and then identify, using a virtual receptionist service like Smith.ai and a case management platform like PracticePanther, what can you automate and outsource to take off your plate? So really quickly, we're just going to go through the real importance of responsiveness to those initial calls, those initial contacts that are coming into your business, and how capturing every new lead comes really down to that responsiveness. How to screen new leads to save you time, but also instill trust in the leads themselves. Scheduling appointments and automating follow-ups, taking payments for consultations and doing online billing, capturing contact information and logging calls into PracticePanther, and really, how to get that set up, but how to get it set up really well for your practice. Quickly, how to connect Smith.ai to PracticePanther, the real breakdown on that. And then handing off and automating that new client intake in the best way possible. So I'm going to get started with some consumer buying statistics affecting law firms. This is really, really important. And I think a lot of times we forget as lawyers that the same people who are setting their expectations based off of shopping at big corporations and shopping at the local store and going to the dentist, those are the same people that are hiring, a law firm, a lawyer, and it's everybody, right? And so some of these statistics are really important to take a look at. First of all, 89% of consumers expect an immediate response to a customer service issue, and 82% of consumers expect an immediate response when inquiring about services, right? Asking about a sale. So these are huge numbers, and it's that immediate response. It's not calling them back in an hour. It's not, messaging them back the next day or anything like that. It's right at the moment that they are looking for that service or they need that help. And, we think about this, but it really makes sense. People who are going to be calling your firm, people who are going to be reaching out to you looking for your services, they are expecting to get in touch with you. And if they don't, they're just going to move on to the next firm almost immediately. And that's really where it's, as a solo and small law firm owner, it can be really difficult because you have work to get done, right? You have legal work to do, you've got planning to do, you have probably managing some people potentially to do. And so there's this real problem there where the new clients expect the responsiveness, but you just don't have time to respond to them all the time. And so that's where a solution like Smith.ai can really come in and fill that gap. And then let's take a look at this next statistic, which is 67% of law firm clients say their decision to hire is most influenced by attorneys' initial responsiveness to their first call or email. So that first call that's coming in is crucial to the growth of your business. You really just can't be missing any of those new leads, because a new lead for a firm, that's a lot of business. You don't have the option to sort of be losing out on these. And then just keep this one in mind as we're going on a little bit further, but 64% of those legal consumers look for an attorney who offers a free initial consultation. So, just some things to keep in mind as you're trying to provide, your new leads and your new clients with the satisfaction that they're really looking for.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, just the day and age that we're in, whether it's legal tech related or this industry or another industry, but everyone's expecting that quick response, especially with the technology and the world we're living in. It's like everything can be done from your phone, or someone, like a virtual receptionist or receptionist that these services from Smith.ai offers. They want to see someone getting back to them as fast as possible, because if you're not, someone else is. So it's so true. The world of like instant gratification nowadays really calls for this type of responsiveness to clients. I mean, I deal with it even at PracticePanther. We always try to make sure we're responding to clients as fast as possible to make sure we're providing that type of service. So this all really definitely resonates with me.
Right. And so, when we talk about what your leads and clients are looking for when they reach out to you, it's not that they're looking for you to solve their legal issue on that first call. So, moving on to the next slide and talking about the law firm sales funnel, the people who are coming in at the top, who are calling initially, or potentially, reaching out via web chat, if you have that on your website, text message, even emails, those are your unqualified cold leads. And there's an entire process that you're going through from taking all of these new contacts, maybe they found you on Google or whatever, and turning them into, retained clients. And there's a process of funneling through them that needs to be done, and it doesn't necessarily need to be done by you. So if you are answering all your calls right now, or you have a paralegal who's doing it, or even a receptionist in-house, they probably have this process and it might not even be determined, right? And so, what happens is the caller initially comes in, but then you have a little bit of a conversation with them, right? Are they in your service area? Are you actually able to solve their issue? Are you able to take them on as a client? Can they afford your services? Do they want to pay, or are they looking for free legal advice? And then once you've qualified them, then you're booking that consultation, then, potentially taking payment for that consultation, and even, doing intake, at least initial intake at the very beginning. And then once that consultation is scheduled, then, that's what I would say is when you as the lawyer are ready to come in and take that consultation. And so the first step is to actually take this entire process, which might be done, by you or by somebody in-house, and really clarify what it is, right? So pick out those qualification questions. It might just be a couple of things. Do you charge for your initial consultation? Do they want to pay that $200? Do you, only offer services in California? Are they in California? There's a couple of questions that you can really outsource or ask in order to qualify your leads. And then on this first call, you want to get them scheduled, right? So this is an issue for you because you really want to capture that lead on the first call as soon as you know that they're qualified, and get them on your calendar. But also, the lead themselves wants to get scheduled on your calendar. The reason they're calling is not because they want to sit down and hash through everything immediately. They are calling because they want to know, are you the right person to take on their case? And when you've qualified them, and then you've scheduled them on your calendar, and then, you are sending them follow-up information, that's really them knowing, okay, I've taken this off my plate. I made the call, I found the person, I've got the appointment booked. And that actually creates a more satisfied client experience, in addition to really, taking a lot of that legwork, that back and forth work off of your plate on that initial call. And so when you're taking a look at this process and going through this funnel and figuring out how to take somebody from, just found you on Google, or, their friend referred them to you, to becoming an actual scheduled consultation and even a retained client because they're a more qualified lead, take a look at the people who work for you and yourself and your own time, and see if that time is best spent doing this entire process yourself, or if that can be outsourced to, a receptionist service, or, partially outsourced to a receptionist service. Maybe you want to take those calls, or you want to take those calls in-house during the week, but you can still outsource this lead intake process on the nights and weekends. And so, taking us to the next step. So we've got our lead intake process all laid out. And so now we need to figure out, what are the tools that we really need in order to create a good process, both with the virtual receptionists themselves, but, really taking work off their hands and taking work off your hands, right? If they're not able to schedule on your calendar, it's not really that useful for you. They could just send you some recommended times. So there's a lot of scheduling tools out there that are really great to use. The one that I use personally is Calendly, right? It's a free product that you can, it's a freemium product. So there might be some features that you have to pay more for, but you can actually get started with this straight away. It's completely safe and secure for you. So this is the kind of thing that you can set up. It connects to your calendar. It can connect to your Outlook calendar, your Google calendar, your PracticePanther calendar, and it can really identify what times that you have available so that if somebody else is doing this booking for you, they can set something up for you on your calendar, but without having access to your actual calendar. So what I recommend is getting set up with one of these tools, and then creating a couple of different appointment types, right? Like maybe there's a 15-minute check-in, maybe there's an actual meeting, maybe you do a consultation and, or an initial consultation that's shorter and free, and then a longer consultation that you charge for. So identify all those different types of meetings, and you can just, set up multiple meetings in this platform. And then the cool thing about these platforms as well is that they will send automated reminders to the people that you booked the appointment with. And there's a lot of cool automation when it comes to reminders that works both with these scheduling tools and also in PracticePanther itself, right? Once you've already got this appointment booked and it's on your calendar, which I think Sam's going to explain a little bit to us now.
Yeah, exactly. So once those appointments are sent, whether you're using Calendly or Acuity, and you can push them over. And again, our support and staff will obviously help with making sure all those settings are properly configured. But once they're pushed over to PracticePanther, you can have PracticePanther, like Kelsey was saying, also push them to Outlook or Gmail, however you want this set up. And at the end of the day, these reminders are what's huge, right? So this is one of the most commonly used features in PracticePanther is the ability to set up reminders not just for yourself, but also the potential client, for example. So you can send yourself a text message, an email, even a pop-up in your PracticePanther program for any duration of time. Maybe you want, pop-up in the program the day before the initial consultation. Then you want a email to your inbox 2 hours before that consultation, even a text message right to your phone 30 minutes before it. Everyone works a little bit differently, but these reminders can be set up in different ways to really apply and encapsulate exactly what you're trying to do with them. So they can have actually 5 different reminders per task or event. And Kelsey was also talking about, these meetings. It can be a consult, an initial conversation, maybe a free 10-minute conversation before an actual paid consultation. Those events and tasks can also be tagged. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what the tags are later on, but they can be tagged in your PracticePanther account. So if I want to look at my calendar for a day and see, hey, what are all the initial consultations I have this week, that Smith.ai set up for me. And boom, in one little list, you'll have all of that, and you can have a good idea of what to expect for that day, that week, whether it's for you, the attorney, or maybe the paralegal or the office admin is on top of those. But this is all just to make sure that you're not missing a beat, in one of these busy, chaotic, crazy days that I'm sure everyone is used to. And I know Kelsey was telling me earlier, how she gets these from her doctor appointments, right? You were saying that, and how useful those are.
Going back to these client expectations, I mean, we sometimes don't think about it as business owners, but everyone is getting these reminders all the time. And your clients are expecting it, people are expecting it. And I just have, I remember I booked an appointment with a new doctor, I think it was a few months ago, and they didn't send me one of these reminders, right? And I'm a millennial. I am used to checking my email for reminders or getting a text message about it, or, having these follow-ups happen. And I actually missed the appointment time. And it wasn't because I didn't want to go, it was maybe a month or 2 out, but these kind of reminders that you can set up automatically in the software that you're already using are basically essential to, first of all, living up to your client's expectations, but also, just making sure that everybody shows up on time, and not necessarily shows up on time, but they know where they're meeting you. Is it a Google Meet or a Zoom call? Are you going to call them? Do they need to bring something to that consultation? Did you give them some things that they needed to make sure they gathered in order to show up prepared for this? There's a lot that you can do with this that really is just so seamless within client expectations as they're already set these days.
Exactly. Yep.
So there's, if you are using a virtual receptionist service to both, book your appointments, qualify leads, do that initial intake, and you charge for consultations, you can have your virtual receptionists actually take those payments. And, first of all, it's just really important to have online billing in general. If you are, sending an invoice, you should be sending it, via email or through a client portal or whatever it may be, but it needs to be something that people can pay online. That's just a basic client expectation these days. But going back to what can be actually handled on that first call, think about a new lead calling in. They are qualified, they are scheduled on your calendar. The essential information that you need is gathered and put into your systems, as I'll talk about a little bit better later. But if you charge for that initial consultation, you can actually have the receptionist take that payment on that very first call, right? So think about it. You literally have not even been distracted yet. And you are, you have a new lead who's qualified, who's booked, who's already paid you, and everything's just showing up in all of your systems. So this is one of the ways that new funnel, that new lead funnel can really come together and become a very seamless process for you and really take that work off of your plate. So, I'm going to let Sam take it over, but there's actually a platform within PracticePanther itself that you can just go ahead and set up and create a link and send that to your virtual receptionists.
Exactly. You hit it right on the head. So before we go to the next slide, I just want to, touch on that point, how important it is to really have the, ability to take online payments, but even more so when you're using a powerful service like Smith AI, there's just a simple link that PracticePanther can provide for you to give that receptionist or that, that person who's taking those calls to be able to make that payment for that initial consultation. From my perspective, I just think it's so important because once that payment's made, that's it. They're in the door. They're going to make it. If it's a free consultation, I even do this sometimes, for example, like free trials. If I know I'm not really committed to something, the chances of me, going to that appointment or doing whatever it is that I thought I was going to do is less likely than if I actually make a payment. So collecting those payments on those initial calls and allowing Panther Payments to do that for you, because now it's all native to PracticePanther. So you can set up one links, you can set up trust retainer requests to go to either the IOLTA or the operating accounts. All that stuff is, encompassed within PracticePanther's Panther Payments and really allows you to, get a lot more on the dollar, but also really safe and really secure. So I think this is a huge point to what Kelsey is saying, is just making sure that you're getting paid for those, initial consultations and giving your virtual receptionist and Smith AI the ability to do that as well.
Absolutely. And the most, the easiest time that it is to get somebody to pay is when they urgently need your services. And you deserve to get paid, right? You're very, very, experienced, and you're providing this really valuable service. And so you might as well get that payment, as at the easiest possible time, which is right when that person has decided that they really need to take you on. All right, so this brings us to the Smith AI PracticePanther integration. So I'll explain a little bit later how to actually integrate these two platforms, but if you use PracticePanther and you use Smith AI, you can actually connect the technology to each other so that they basically talk to each other. So when a new call comes in, whatever may happen, whether it's our receptionist talk to a current client, talk to, a new lead, whatever may happen, those contacts can get added into your PracticePanther account. So automatically after the call, without even our receptionists don't have to do anything, it happens completely automatically through the software. Our system will search in, completely securely, will search in your PracticePanther account for a current contact. And if they don't exist, the integration will create a new contact that appears under contacts. It'll have the business name, the person's name, their email address, their phone number, and then that call summary that has all of the information that was taken in that call initially. And then there's another place where the calls are actually being logged as well, right? So we don't just want to create new contacts with this integration. We also need call or information for the contacts we already have in there. So all your new calls, chats, texts, and Facebook messages, you can actually connect our chat service to PracticePanther as well, will appear under activities. So you're getting a new activity, the call came in, you have all of this information, and you have it at your fingertips ready for the consultation call. So let's say you had that receptionist create, the appointment, they took the billing for it, they gathered some of that information. You can access all of that information automatically in your PracticePanther account and have it ready for you for the consultation call without having to do all of this prep work of, trying to chase down this information. Automatically logging your calls and chats actually reduces the time that you can spend copying and pasting from your email. And it can reduce the human error problems that come along with that as well. And, Sam will talk a little bit about this, but once the contact's in your PracticePanther account, that's when you can start to set up automated workflows to, say, nurture new leads or set up reminders for yourself internally and really create that process so that it's not just the lead coming in and then you check them later on in the day, but you're actually creating automations. Now that the outsourced part of it has been taken off your plate, you're creating automations that can really take work off of your plate, nurture leads, bring in more business without any work from you.
Exactly. And that's really the heart of this integration, I feel at least, is you have both of these pieces of the vehicle, let's call it, the engine, the transmission, whatever you want to say the pieces are, but putting them together is just going to make everything work a lot more fluidly. And if you have something like Smith AI, which again is just so powerful, being able not just the program itself, but being able to have someone pick up those calls and set up these consultations. And now it's pushing over automatically and automating all of those processes into PracticePanther, which is your nucleus of your case management software, where you're going to bill from, future invoices, set up automation tools, which we'll talk a little bit more about. Again, this is all together. You tie it all together, and it really gives you a leg up on, I feel, the competition in the industry. So super important stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah, keep in mind, just as Sam's going on, you're setting this stuff up initially, right? You want to make sure that it works in a way that works for your firm and that works for the clients. But once this stuff is set up, it's off of your hands. This is stuff that you maybe would only spend 15 or 20 minutes each time doing, or maybe longer, each time you do it. But once you set up the automations and once you set up the outsourcing solution and connect them to each other, that's off of your hand. You don't have to think about that anymore, which is something that I know a lot of lawyers that I've talked to, don't even think about the fact that they wouldn't have to do that, or don't think about the 15 or 20 minutes here and there that they're, doing this manual work. But once they implement these systems and take it off their plates, they're just mind blown, so happy, just, time free to work on the work that you can actually bill for.
Yeah, we love hearing those stories and testimonials. It's just, it's that set it and forget it method where you can now focus on a lot of the important stuff that you're doing every day, the law itself and the cases that you're working on. And I know I touched on it a bit, and some of people on this call might know about these tags that we have in PracticePanther and how you can run reports on them. But basically, tags give you the ability to run reports based off the different customized tagging that you set up, right? And it's always been kind of the core to our program from the very beginning. So for example, if you want to see contacts associated with a specific type of case in a specific region of your work area, PracticePanther's tags allow you to do just that. So keep in mind what I mentioned earlier. If calls are coming in and being set up from Smith AI, and you go to your activities page and you want to see only things regarding the Smith AI consultations that were set up, and what's the ROI that's coming in off of those calls and off of those appointments Smith AI is setting up, tags easily allows you to do all of this. And it's a Boolean logic with our tag. So you can do, all cases with a certain tag or all cases without a specific tag. And you can cross-reference them with the different contacts. And like I mentioned, the different activities. So whether it's a consultation or a follow-up meeting, or maybe specific things you need to get done, like a deposition or a motion or creating new documents, I think tags really are just so powerful. I know people who use them in our program will, tell you that as well, but you can use them from anything like I'm talking about, the contacts, matters, and activities, all the way through the reporting that's built into PracticePanther. Because under our reporting section, you have, for example, payment method, for certain types of matters, but now you can apply these tags to dive deeper and slice and dice everything that you are looking for. So, not, again, just another really important feature to even allow you to calculate where your biggest ROI is coming from, right? If you do some marketing in Google and you do marketing, Yahoo, Bing, all the different ways you can do it nowadays, and you want to see, well, how many people found, us through Google, but also spoke to our Smith AI receptionist and told them that they found us through Google, you can, put this all together and get a good idea of where a lot of your good money is going towards marketing. So you're not, wasting money in certain areas. So it's really up to you, the level of detail and the flexibility you want to build these out with. And again, I can't emphasize enough how much we will help with this onboarding process, making sure the correct ones are set up the way you want them to, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I love the idea of, pulling this reporting, really being able to do this reporting that's just seems so easy, and being able to actually take a look at the data, right? We're all talking about data these days. Take a look at the data of how many of the calls that Smith AI took actually turned into clients. They actually converted, we actually took them on, and this is how much was made. And we see this a lot when people implement our web chat service, that, a lot of people just don't have live chat on their sites. They don't really see the reason to have it. And then they'll try it out for a little while. And when they take a look at the actual numbers that are coming in, they're like flabbergasted. I paid $6 for somebody to have this live conversation, and it resulted in, tens of thousands of dollars over the next few months. And so, it's really important to take a look at this data and see what's working for you, so that you don't have to spend so much time on the stuff that's not.
Exactly. Yep.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how to connect Smith AI to your PracticePanther account. And this is our basic integration with PracticePanther. With your Smith AI account or your Smith AI live chat account, or either or both, you get one integration for free. So as long as you don't have any other integrations set up, which this is the general integration type that we have, so you probably wouldn't, it's kind of a no-brainer to at least try this out and see if it makes sense for your workflow. And all you need to do actually is just email support@smith.ai if you're already a client and get your integration set up. They'll just send you a link. If you are not a client yet, just mention it during your onboarding, or when you're deciding on which plan to get, just mention that you use PracticePanther and you want to get that set up. We send you a link, you click grant access, and then it just works. So it's like I was saying to Sam the other day, I almost feel like there's too many bullet points here, because it is like the easiest thing to set up in the world.
Right.
If you do have a live chat service with us, which is the live chat service actually does include the text and Facebook messages. It's actually even easier because you don't even need to email us. You just go into your chat dashboard, go to integrations, and choose PracticePanther, and then follow the instructions, which will basically take you through to the same place where you grant access. And then you're completely done. Your integration is set up, and you can focus on creating those workflows better, and creating the lead and client follow-up processes.
I love it. That's great. And then, yeah, talking about, those custom workflows and things in PracticePanther that can be applied right after, obviously the integration is set up, the receptionists are taking these calls and bringing in clients or potential clients into your PracticePanther case. But workflows are really something maybe not everyone knows exists, but once they look into it and learn about it and get help setting them up, it's the same thing as we talked about before. It's a set it and forget it type of feature, right? You have a workflow for a new client, let's just say, for example. You apply the workflow to that case that's a new client, and automatically on your calendar, everything will populate. Day one after they become a client, do task ABC. Day 3, meet with client about follow-up on deposition. Day 7, do XYZ, so on and so forth. And your calendar will populate. And again, you can add these reminders to those specific tasks and events that are coming from that, from those different workflows that you can create. So you can have all different types of workflows. It can be a new client. It can be dependent on the type of case or a type of law that you practice as well. This really will just save so much time each day and each week so that you don't have to populate these calendars with those repetitive tasks and events. So instead of going into your calendar and saying, well, on Monday I have to do this, on Wednesday I have to do that, on Friday this, in 2 weeks that, all pertaining to that case, you now have a workflow that's customized specific to what you do and how you work with conditional formatting. So maybe task B cannot be done until task A is completed. And in our system, once you click complete on task A, now task B will populate. So if you're wondering, okay, that's cool and native to PracticePanther, but what does it mean for my Smith AI integration? And that's a good question to be thinking, and I'm going to answer that for you right now. So imagine Smith AI, puts in 10 cases a week or 10 potential clients a week into your PracticePanther account through the integration. It's all automated and works beautifully. Now, those 10 potential clients, you have a specific workflow. So instead of going into each one and having to apply the workflow, you can do this in bulk. I can say, hey, and again, you can use the tags as well. So I can say all my Smith AI consultations that were set up this week with that tag, I want to apply this workflow to all of them. And it might take 2 to 3 clicks. Everything is set and your calendar is populated with all those things you need to do. So again, these workflows are so clutch. It really eliminates, some of the tedious tasks such as populating the calendars with all these events every time you get a similar case. So I highly suggest, if you're using them, try and use them more. If you're not using them, look into them. And you can always reach out to us. We can help set them up, suggest different types of workflows. But this is really a beautiful feature, and it comes so in handy, especially when things like Smith AI are integrated with us to be able to push this type of information over.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sam, I talk to so many lawyers who, when they hear the word workflow, they seem to think that maybe like it's a techie thing or maybe it's a bigger company thing.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is you are already doing this workflow. You're just doing it manually. And so using a platform like this and using systems like this, you can stop doing that work that can be automated. And that's really the magic of, getting these systems set up.
Yep, I love it.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about doing new client intake just in a little bit more complicated of a way, right? So you can have your receptionists gather that sort of initial client intake, that kind of basic information with the business name, with their email address, with their phone number, and then the call summary. And the call summary might have some custom information that you wanted the receptionist to ask, right? But if you are looking to take more advantage of the, automation functionality of PracticePanther, there's actually another way that you can set up your receptionists to do this initial intake. So the basic integration logs leads with the phone number, email address, name, call summary. But if you need more intake information and you want it in sort of custom fields, let's say, for example, you want to collect a case number and input it in a specific field in your PracticePanther account in order to have that information, you can use their intake forms that are within their platform alongside Smith AI receptionists. So, you just create a custom intake form, add about 5 questions or less. We're not doing this really extended intake on the first call because what we're trying to do is, grab the new lead, answer a couple of questions, get the essential information and get that put into your systems and then get them booked on your calendar. But if you've got this, these custom fields that you need to be filled out, you can create the form as you want it. The magic of this too is that since you're creating the form, if you want to change it, if you want to make adjustments, if you want to pull out a question because you're not using it or add a new one, you can just do that on your own and you don't even have to talk to PracticePanther's support or Smith AI's support. And then what it's going to seem like for the lead when they call is they're not going to think that they are going through like an intake process, right? They don't have to fill out any forms. What's actually happening is that when they call, they need to take you on, they've been qualified, got them booked on a calendar. Our receptionists are just asking those questions, as though they're sitting in your office, as though they're your, in-house receptionist. And it's even though it sort of seems like kind of a techie way to get it set up from the client perspective, from your lead's perspective, it's really seamless, and it really feels like more of like a personalized experience to have the receptionist ask these questions for them. One thing to note when you are creating these forms, if you decide to set it up like this, don't associate it with any contact or matter. As you can see, you can select a contact and a matter, but you want to make sure neither of those are checked before you send that link over to your Smith.ai account, because otherwise it'll get logged under just one matter or contact instead of having sort of more of a general fill out.
Right.
So there's a couple of other cool things that you can do on the back end with these forms. So you've got your form filled out, it's asking certain questions, you know, it's maybe asking opposing party, case number, something that's more specific to your practice area. But when, you know, once you're in the second part of setting up this form itself, you can take those questions and choose which column in PracticePanther they're going into. And there's tons of different options for this. So what you're basically doing is on the tech side, you're pairing the question that was asked with an actual field in your PracticePanther account. And then there's a couple of, you know, more advanced options on what you can do, whether it's create a new contact, create new matters, or update existing contacts or matters, you know, really adding the information in the place that you need it in a really dynamic way. And you can also trigger email notifications and calendar events and some of those things that Sam was talking about during the workflow. This is a form that can be connected to some of those things and actually, you know, trigger the process without you even needing to be involved at all.
Right. And the cool thing with those workflows also, before I talk a little bit about the agenda and the daily overview you get within PracticePanther, is that those intake forms, like Kelsey was saying, you want your virtual receptionist to just have like a simple, maybe 3 to 5 question type of intake form so that we can get them through the door and into that initial main consultation. Now, once they come in, because you're not setting those intake forms up initially with a contact or a matter, let's say, once they come into your office, you can, I mean, it looks so pretty when you can hand your client an iPad and say, hey, do you mind filling out, you know, some more in detail depth questions so that I can apply them to your matter. So when they come in, you can hand them an iPad or an Android, whatever you want to call it. They can fill those questions out. And because you're now able to connect it to that contact or matter that was originally, you know, brought in through the integration or through the intake form, all that information is just going to be uploaded to the matter. So it makes it really look really nice, very professional. And again, it just, you know, it encompasses really just the future of technology and how this should all really be set up. I really love that idea.
When you're doing
Yeah,
those consultations remotely, you can also just send those via email, right?
exactly.
So that
Yep.
initial call is the essential information that you really need, but you can follow up with a link to, again, one of those really beautiful pages that allows them to fill out the information at their leisure if they need to go find, you know, drag down pieces of information before the consultation. But it really looks good and it's
Yeah.
incredibly professional.
And you can label them with your logo, your colors, things like that. So again, something we'll be more than happy to help with down the road. And then, you know, just touching a little bit more on why I like this last slide so much, talking about the agenda and the reminder overviews. And, you know, it ties in with a lot of what we already talked about, besides setting up the automatic reminders, but like the workflows and all of that. This is going to allow you to have a little section on the right-hand side of your PracticePanther program that you can close or open. It's completely up to you how, if you want to see it or how you work, but it'll list your agenda day after day or what's coming up that week. Anything in red means that it's overdue and very important to get to. You can set up different priorities or different colors for your calendar, but all of this will translate to what you're looking at, your daily agenda. So if you wake up in the morning, if you're an early riser, 6:30 a.m., let's just say, and you open up your inbox, at the top of your inbox most likely will be this agenda email. It's going to let you know what you have to do today that needs to get done for whatever case it is. So again, this is a really good way to help you prevent yourself from missing any key dates and deadlines and things like that. I know a lot of people love this really simple feature. I mean, it's just like almost like a no-brainer to have this turned on in your settings, because again, it will just give you an idea of what needs to get done and when those things need to be done. So that brings us to the end of the webinar, but before we let everyone go, we do have a little bit of time left. So we're gonna go through some of the questions. I see some people left questions in that Q&A box. Thank you for that. We're gonna pick a few out and we will try to answer them for you guys. All right, so let's see. All right, so obviously something that comes up a lot when doing webinars and whatnot like this is how much do these programs cost? So Kelsey, you take the Smith AI pricing one, and then I'll talk a little bit about PracticePanther.
Absolutely. So we are a per call service. So sort of different from a lot of the other receptionist services you'll see out there. We charge on a per call basis, and we never charge for spam calls. We never charge for those unwanted sales calls you're getting. We don't charge for wrong numbers. We're basically just charging for the calls, that you really wanted initially. Our plans do start at $210 per month, and that is going to be for 30 calls. And then it's about a $7 per call charge for that lowest plan. But as you scale up, if you have more calls coming in, the price per call is actually going to go down on those higher tiers. And we really work with you to make sure that we're getting you the plan that works for your calls. That we have several plan tiers, but we can really customize things for what you need as well.
Yeah, and it's the same on the PracticePanther end when talking about the tiers, right? We have different types of subscription levels for the different types of, let's say, features or size of firm that you are. So just get in touch with us. We're going to cater the demo to your specific needs, but it ranges everywhere from $39 a month to $89 a month. Some are billed annually, some are billed monthly, depending on what kind of setup you want. And then it kind of brings me also to this next question that I saw in there. Are there any discounts for attending this webinar today? So yes, on the PracticePanther end, we are giving 10% off your first year if you reach out, and we can match it up that you were on this webinar with us today. So we'd be happy to do that. And I think, Kelsey, you guys too are providing a discount because of the webinar today, right?
Yes, absolutely. So with the promo code PracticePanther, or just mention the webinar during your sales setup, you'll get $100 off of your first month. Now, if you're getting these things set up at the same time, or you want to get Smith AI set up first, you actually don't even have to be a PracticePanther client yet. You can just get the $100 off, but obviously you're going to be getting set up with both.
Yeah, exactly. All right, maybe it's like two more questions. Here's one for you, Kelsey. Can you set up Smith AI to answer after-hour calls, or to only answer after-hour calls?
Yeah, so we do not necessarily answer all of your calls. We're here to sort of take off of your plate what you really need. So you can set up custom hours to have us answer, whether that's, you have somebody in-house answering. We can answer after hours, we can answer on the weekends. We can take calls, only if they've rung your line for a couple of rings, but then nobody picked up, then they can roll over to us. We can do cool things like you can just text us and say, hey, can you take my calls for the next 2 hours? I'm going to be in court. We'll take them off your plate for the next 2 hours. And then after that, you can take them back over. So we're really looking to be, your answering solution for exactly what you need, not just for everything.
Perfect. And the last one's regarding PracticePanther. I'll just answer this. So it says, is PracticePanther a good program for an immigration-only law firm? Yeah, I mean, not only immigration, but just to, shine some light on the overall aspect of that. No matter what type of law you practice, PracticePanther can be customized in a specific way. And we integrate with so many important platforms that you either are already using or might want to use. So for example, if you're an immigration firm and you want to use PracticePanther, our customer success managers will help set up your program specific to immigration firms, and will also suggest and point you in the right direction towards what are the best integrations for your type of firm. So if that's something you're interested in, please feel free, let us know, and we'll be more than happy to kind of customize those demos and make sure it's exactly what you're looking for. All right. So that's all for the time we have today. Again, we're going to get to everyone that did leave a question that maybe we didn't get to the time to answer. But Kelsey, I mean, this was fun. It's always a pleasure working with you and Smith AI. I hope to, do some more of these in the future with you. And it's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so passionate about this subject and about, automation and outsourcing and, having people not really have to do the work that they shouldn't have to because we've got the technology for it now. So thank you so
Exactly.
much for having me on, Sam. And everyone, please, feel free to reach out to me personally or to Smith AI if you have any more questions.
Exactly. And same here. Thank you to everyone for joining today. And feel free to reach out to us. Let us know if you have questions. You can always, if you're looking at the screen, you can book a demo or a consultation by visiting Smith AI or practicepanther.com/demo. We hope you all have a great rest of your week and a wonderful weekend. And we look forward to working with you soon. Take care.